because when any of the organizations come for the campus run, in the technical round they usually ask the question if the student is from computer engineering.
What he's saying is how do we prepare our students to better address the interviews? And my take on that is, again, the goal is the same. We need to get them hired, right? So, there's a whole bunch of things that need to happen. In fact, if you look at it, one of the basic things is that how do I get my students to be higher than what the expectation is? Right? And this could start right from, the first year engineering or first year MCA or MBA or whatever courses you are representing. So it starts right from there and then goes all along right up to the actual interview process and actual hiring times and things like that. So what I would do in this 20 minutes that I have now, I would also want to talk about a little bit about, other than the verticals which are important, I also wanted to talk about what I think as a hiring manager, what do I expect from students. And that actually kind of helps, hopefully I'm hoping that it will help you to take back a message to your students, your institutions and things like that. So, first let me address the basic idea of why I'm here. Let's look at the verticals. So in the OPD space, which is outsourced product development space, the following areas are very hot. Okay? Let's start with the first one, that's collaboration, enterprise collaboration. So, and I'll talk a little bit about each of these areas so you understand what I mean by that. So in collaboration, the idea is, it starts right from, let's say you have an email as a way of collaborating to, instant messaging, to telephonic conversations, to now we have a whole bunch of new world of conversation, which is things like social sites like Facebook, for example, or LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, you don't see it as a collaboration tool today, but it's a very, very strong collaboration tool. It's not seen as a collaboration tool, but it is actually a very strong collaboration tool because you are linking with people that matter to you, like in your industry and things like that. So collaboration encompasses all of these areas. So you start with what I call as synchronous collaboration. Synchronous collaboration is things like telephone calls, video calls, all of this is synchronous. That is, it's happening as we speak. Right? And then there's asynchronous collaboration, which is email. You send an email and forget about it. You send an SMS and forget about it. So it's asynchronous. The recipient kind of talks and receives the message when he or she is so-called online. Right? So collaboration encompasses all these technologies, and today, because of the social nature that's coming into collaboration, it has become very hot again. Okay? Collaboration has been there since ages. We have been talking to each other since ages, but today it's become strong again. Right? So that's number one. Number two is mobility. And the reason for mobility becoming hot is, you can see, everybody has a phone which is more powerful than a computer that we used in our college when I was a student. And this computer that I am talking about was used by 35 students at the same time. Okay, it was simultaneously used by 35 students. The computer had a huge amount of RAM, and the huge amount of RAM was 24 MB. Okay, and it had a huge amount of disk, which was 1 GB at that time. Okay. Today you have a mobile phone which is maybe twice as powerful as this computer I am talking about. And the reason why this has been possible is that there is so much advances in hardware that your mobile phones are that powerful. And that is making a very, very interesting paradigm in the way of people interact, people consume content. In the sense that the way you consume content. For example, I am looking at a recipe. I want to look at a recipe of how to do let's say, tomato omelette, which I did today morning. And the interesting thing is that I didn't know how to do it. The easiest way is pick up the mobile, look at it, Google, and there you are, tomato omelette in 5 minutes. So this kind of paradigm where you are looking at your mobile as your primary device to consume content and read content is very powerful. Useful because Kaustubhs are here and I was driving today I made notes on what I will talk about here. This is my tablet PC. And why did I do that? Because I knew that we had a drive of almost like an hour to get here, and I would use my time. This thing I discussed with him what would be appropriate to talk here, and there we go. So this mobility is bringing a kind of productivity for me, which was unheard of maybe 5 years back, right? So which is very, very strong and very pervasive in that sense. So if you look at it, because though there are devices, there needs to be software which I can make notes. For example, there needs to be a software I can use to make quick notes. And the software I am using here is actually notes which recognizes my handwriting. I can make notes, imagine writing or typing when you are driving along. Right? I mean, I'm sitting in the passenger seat, of course, but I'm writing. But it's still, I can just scribble, but I cannot write. I cannot type. It's not easy to do that. So, but this software does that, so it's very, very powerful. The third area which is getting very, very hot today is business intelligence and analytics. Let me again explain a little bit about what is business intelligence. So, if you look at it, when you go to your neighborhood grocer, okay, you knowing the person, I'm assuming that you know the grocer for a long time. As soon as you go in, the grocer says, "Oh, madam, tumhara kya budget?" He talks about this thing, and then, "Oh, you had bought this thing 2 months back, so now you might have run out of sugar, so sugar might be one of the things you need." Things like that. So he remembers certain things, he remembers your profile, he knows what you buy, he knows what you need, he expects and he gives you a lot of service in that regard. So that was how the neighborhood grocer used to work. And we were very happy with that. But unfortunately, neighborhood grocers are now replaced by big marts, D-marts, and all kinds of marts. Right? Now, how can we give the same kind of service in a big mart? And I say big mart, any of these, whether it's Reliance Fresh or whether it's More or any of these. So how these guys think about giving you that kind of service? So one way they do is that they ask you to try and have the card. So you take a card, and then when you swipe it, they will know what you are buying, so on and so forth. So interestingly, there is a lot of thought put behind in these big shops, so to speak. What goes with other things? So typically they look at purchase data. Like for example, you are buying soaps and detergents together. So most of them will be placed together, okay? Which is a no-brainer, so to speak. But interestingly, soaps and eggs are put together at places. I'm just giving you a hypothetical situation here. Why is that? How did they decide that soaps and eggs go together? So they keep it next to each other, although not in the same aisle. Or how is it that decide that it's very important to keep chewing gums at the aisle where you are checking out? Okay, have you ever stopped back and thought about this? Who tells them to do this? And that is business intelligence. And the way business intelligence is done is that they have tons and tons of data about who buys what. And then they start sifting through this data. Think of this data in terms of petabytes, terabytes, very, very heavy amount of data. Try to sift through this data and try to get knowledge about what needs to be kept there. That's business intelligence and analytics. And it is becoming very, very hard. Primarily because we have so much data and so much of digitization everywhere. Okay. And finally, the last area of vertical, which is becoming again very pervasive and hot, is cloud computing. One of the interesting things is that in an exam, somebody asked what is cloud computing, and somebody came up with an idea saying that if you can run your computer using the electricity that is generated by the clouds, then that is cloud computing. Well, that's a joke, but that is not cloud computing. Cloud computing is a way of giving you freedom of choosing your own hardware, choosing your own location where it will run, okay, and being kind of oblivious to all these things. So let me give you an example. You use Gmail. Many of us must be using Gmail or Yahoo Mail. Have you ever thought about what computers does Gmail run on? Or where in the world is it running? Is it running in some location in India, Singapore, US? We really don't care. That is cloud computing. So cloud computing enables this kind of a new era where you are oblivious to the fact of where your software is running or where your hardware is actually located. And Gmail or email or any sort of email is a very small thing, but once you look at taking this to every application that you use, if that is running on the so-called cloud somewhere, then you become so much more powerful because that application is available to you all the time. You don't need to worry about whether it's running out of disk space, whether who gives it power and things like that. So that is the era of cloud computing. So these four areas, according to us, are very, very hot today. In addition to these verticals, there are certain areas of what I would call as business which are really hot again. These areas are, one is life sciences. So life sciences is, because the genome was broken like a year back or so, your sequenced rather. Life sciences became very hot, and today people are looking at how do we use that information. For example, there are certain things which are trying to look at your genes and predict the kind of diseases you will have at the age of 80. So that is the kind of this thing that's happening in life sciences. Or can we come up with a new sort of drug that can prevent diseases from happening in the first place? Those kind of drugs. So there's a lot of things that are happening. Again, I'm not an expert in life sciences, but that's a hot area that my colleagues tell me. Then there is another vertical which is kind of very hot today is telecom. Because I talked about collaboration earlier, telecom is the carrier underneath which carries all these messages, and it's always going to be hot. Particularly in countries like India and China, where the growth of this thing is very, very high. So these are the areas that I wanted to quickly touch upon. Okay. From the IT verticals perspective. Then I wanted to quickly talk a little bit about from the TPO angle, because I am involved in a lot of hiring and recruitment with Producer. There's a lot of things that I can talk about. So, Madam was talking about earlier here, before I started, she was talking about what is it that makes a particular college a niche or particular industry a niche. So when I talk to the recruitment agencies or recruitment events like TPO events, there are a few interesting things that my observations have. One, because the way computer science is growing or IT is growing, what is happening is there are so many new technologies that get introduced. I just talked about 4 new ones, right? Which there is pressure on the university syllabus group to bring them into the syllabus. Okay? So there is always pressure on the university to add latest and the greatest technologies into the syllabus. But unfortunately, we have only 4 years or whatever, 3 years to cover all these things. So something has to go out. We can't cram in new things without sacrificing something else. So what should go out? And that is a huge challenge. Interestingly, in computer science, even though the basics of networking, I would say, and basics of databases, these are by and large the strongest subject that you can have. If somebody is strong in these areas, period, they will be able to pick up any technology. Okay? So that would be my message. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how about the non-technical side. So Madam was talking about, for example, we do a lot about soft skills training and things like that. But I still see that that is one of the basic areas of, where where we see that students can improve. By and large, as I see it, the attitude of a person makes or breaks the person, so to speak. What do I mean by attitude? Things like, I don't know this, that is fine, but I will be able to do it. Having that kind of a confidence and that kind of an attitude of going and getting it done. How do we inculcate this into students? It's going to be very hard, I don't know. But that is something that I see missing in students. And obviously we do find some students who have that, and those are the guys that get hired. Right? That goes without saying. It's very interesting that I was in a hiring event in a college, and it so happened that there was this one student who was making sure that everything in that event worked well. He was not worried about his interview or will he face it, how will things go, when will I do my exam. He was not worried about that at all. He was worried about making sure that the entire event goes well. Okay, and for that he had recruited his own set of. A couple of other things in the soft skill areas which I feel is kind of important. One is presentation. Okay. When I say presentation, there are lots of students who can talk about dowry is a social event, but ask them to present quick sort, their mouths go shut. Why is that? They did very well in a topic which was kind of a social topic. They could talk a lot, but they cannot talk on a technical topic. What's inhibiting that? So there are certain things there which we can revisit and see. But presentation of technical topics is a very, very important one. Then the second one in that is problem solving. And when I say problem solving, I'm not talking about mathematical problems or things like that. I'm solving things like, for example, let's say, this is one of my popular interview questions. I ask the students, if you're going on a road, it is kind of deserted, you see an accident, what do you do? Okay? So most of the time they say certain things like this. But the interesting thing is, how would you solve the problem that you don't have help there? What does the student think about in those kind of situations? How do we solve the problems? So these are the kinds of areas that if they can solve problems in these kind of situations, hypothetical situations, they will be able to solve problems in real life situations. That's the point I was talking about. And finally, so we talked about attitude, right, in the non-holistic. We talked about presentation skills. We talked about problem solving. Okay? And finally, the fourth one, which I wanted to point out, is working as a team. Most of the times, the way our college kind of curriculum, and this is how I have been taught as well. The college curriculum says that do it on your own. Okay? So whether it is assignment submission, whether it's term work, whether it is exams, whether it's anything else, it's do it on your own. And that's how it should be, because we are testing that particular person. But in doing it on our own, what we are missing is how do we do it as a team? We miss that in the curriculum. So what I'm hoping is that the TPOs here can take back and come up with some innovative solutions of addressing these, what I'm saying, these areas. So how can we encourage students to do it as a team, while not sacrificing the do it on our own university requirement that we have? So how can we get them to have better attitude? Okay. How can we have them to look at solving harder and harder problems? And I'm not talking about technical problems alone. So how can we inculcate this habit into our students to get there? So technically there are a lot of expectations, but non-technically also there are a lot of expectations, and I am banking on this group here, the TPO group, to take back this message and come up with some innovative solutions where we can get our students to be coming out with these qualities instead of they trying to learn these qualities afterwards. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for listening to me. If there are any questions, I can take them. Otherwise, you all have a good day. Thank you.
Have you with